Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
You want to give a shout out? .com. So let me tell you our subject matter today. Our subject matter is interesting because we deal with so many different topics. Well, now we can't hear me. Okay. Hold on a minute, Reed. Reed said, no, can't hear me. Let me try this. Okay, can you hear me now? Hopefully, inshallah, you can, because I don't have any more tricks. All right, good. Alhamdulillah. I'm glad we can say that. Maybe something was wrong with my computer. I don't know what it is. But I was giving shout outs to Aunt Shirley Bethel in Danville, Virginia, Miss Eleanor, and I want to give a shout out to Maxine BK, my beloved aunt, who is the proprietor of BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. And a shout out to, I want to say, Sister Ree, who is on our audio engineer, and Altaf, who our audio engineer, to let us know when the sound isn't working correctly. Thank you so much. Our subject today is really about reclaiming something that should be ours, that we shouldn't have to fight for. But when you value something, you have to fight it. In difficult times, I find that people move to pessimism. In difficult times, I find that people move to solutions that don't necessarily have answers, but what they have is popular opinion, or they have what we say is the wisdom of the crowds. People will move to a situation or solution knowing that it doesn't work, but it's the popular move for a lot of folks. And one of the things we haven't talked about specifically on this show has a lot to do with happiness. I've talked about reclaiming joy, but I'm talking about happiness. Happiness is a little bit different because joy is a little bit more settled. It has a nomenclature. It has a zip code. Joy, happiness is things that get you to joy. So I was thinking about this as I was reading about the internment of Native Americans at some of these training schools, where they basically stripped Native Americans of their culture, cut their hair. They did everything to, people say, move them from their culture. What they did was they found a prescription whereby they thought that they can remove these people from happiness. The scope and pedagogy of Native American spirituality has to do with the fact that things in nature, and let me say this clearly, that things in nature have a derivative that lead us back to nature. So if you are in nature happy, you have things that are derivatives that lead you back to happiness, lead you back to fulfillment. The narrative of the relationship with the land of Native Americans is a very beautiful narrative, the same as African Americans. We talk about Mother Africa, Mother Nature, things like that. These are some of the pursuits of indigenous folks who have, by spiritual law, correction, and they have relationship with the land. In the last several years, what I've seen, and I've missed it in some regards, I've seen the effort to remove people from happiness, to cloud people's happiness. One of the leading things about depression that people don't have is that it's not that people become depressed, it's that people have, in some regards, a difficult time deciphering when and where they should be happy. And when they get to that point, am I somehow worthy of this happiness? It's got to stop. It just 100% has to stop. So today we're going to be talking about, you know what? I got to switch this joint out. I'm so sorry, people. I made a whole new joint and I didn't do it correctly. So forgive me for that. I'm going to put it up here anyway because I messed up. But we're talking about, again, we're talking about reclaiming our happiness. All right. So this is what I want you to do. Give your brother a minute. I'm going to run our ad, of course, and we're going to be right back. Okay. Don't you move. This is a very, very important topic. All right. This is Preacher Mar's Shout Out Show. Let's get it rolling. All right, got the right one up, reclaiming your happy rights. Before we get in that, I want to get into our comment section of some people who are definitely, I'm happy to see them when they come on the show. Let's call that what it is. They are the Shout Out Show family, the Shout Out Show soldiers. We got Sister Ree. Going to put her up there. Thank you so much. She says, hello, family, pray all is well with each of you. And we pray that everything is well with you, Sister Ree, Brother Derek, and of course, your young lion, your young king, as Brother Jawan. And, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to you. I want you to have the peace, the mercy, and the blessings for your entire family. All right? So, Sister Ree, if I don't give you assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, would you please remind me, because I'm being derelict in my duty in wishing you well. All right. And we got Sister Mary Moss, better known as Mama Son, saying happy day, SOS family. Come home off the airport. My mom has taken the car and gone. How are you getting scheduled for cataract surgery and then driving? Boy, I was happy to be off the road, but I love you anyway. But so is my joy, is my mom. Appreciate you, mom. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My main man, Altaf Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. How are you, beloved? Thank you so much for coming to the show, man. Boy, I'm telling you, man, you are a dedicated brother. You are a dedicated brother. I appreciate you. All right. And we'll go ahead. We're going to plop down here to my main man, Johnny L. Thomas, better known as JT. Always a source of Big Brother's happiness for all the things he does for his family, his community, his personality is effervescent. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the Shout Out Show. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we got Big Brother right here. What's going on, Brother Bilal Salahuddin? Little man is listening to you today. Well, man, tell little man I said assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh and wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh to you, big brother. Thank you so much. Shout out to you and your queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. And my main man, what's going on, Brother Eric Carter? I'm in DC now, Eric. I can't say Eric. I got to say Eric, Brother Eric Carter. I'm in DC now. Man, I hope you're doing well. Hope whatever you guys are out there trying to do, that you are blessed, that you're engaged, you are empowered, and doggone it, you are successful. Appreciate you, man. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Sakina Mujahid. She's the queen of the South, brothers and sisters, working out of Charlotte. She got all the money. I tried to write a check. They showed me her picture. All right. How you doing, Sister Sakina? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show. Much love. Appreciate you. And we already gave a shout out to Sister Satana Whitfield, who's not on the show today. But you know what? When you think about this, 635 shows. If she's missed maybe 10 shows, I might be out of line. 635 shows. That's dedication, brothers and sisters. Absolute dedication. So the topic at hand today is two parts: the nature of how you reclaim something and why we have to reclaim things. That's part number one. And then number two is happy rights. Now, happy rights is not some technical term that was born out of Harvard, that was born out of Princeton or Oxford. Happy rights was something that was spoken to me after my freshman year at Marquette University, and I was working in a kitchen in Greenbelt at Bob's Big Boy as a dishwasher. The guy's name was his name was Bio Bello. He was West African. He had the designs in his face, and Bello didn't say much to me other than, Peter, we need dinner plates. That's all they say. We need dinner plates. Hey, how you doing today? We need dinner plates. And I was like, maybe that's all he could say. We need dinner plates. And it became a joke to me because that was the only command in English he had was we need dinner plates. And when you work in the dishwasher, then you gotta get them dinner plates. But on this terribly difficult day, we had power outages. And I looked at Bello because basically we were all being sent home. They weren't going to pay us. And I looked at Bello and I said, if this guy says we need dinner plates one more time, I'm going to punch him in the face. And I said, what's that goofy smile you have on your face? He says, I have happy. I said, excuse me. He said, I have happy. I said, happy what? He said, I have happy. And it was the first time I heard somebody say, I have happy, referring to happy as a noun, not as an adjective. And it was this consensus that he had that in the midst of working menial labor, in the midst of us being sent home, his dignity was tied to the fact that he valued happiness as an essential core value, right? As an essential core value. We say integrity, character, independence, but he framed happy as a core value. And I found it stunning because these days we find ourselves trying to fight or compete just to be happy. That the world in and of itself puts itself in a particular juxtaposition that we feel like the world takes happiness from us. It may intrude, if you will. We may have to bear the brunt of other people's decisions. But there has been a very concentric effort to make sure that people are not happy. I see it in voting. I see it in the whole aspect of cancel culture. It is not that we resolve our problems, it's that we cause people pain because somebody has caused us pain. The idea here, though, is it may not be I caused you pain. It may be that someone else caused you pain, and I'm just the person in the space that you can put in there and you can take it out on. Bio Bello told me, and it's interesting, he told me, he said, happiness or being happy was a right. Much the same as we inhale and exhale, it's a right. And he said the condition of which we frame how we're happy it will materialize how do we live the rest of our lives. It will lay a basic framework for how we live the rest of our lives. Now, I told you, he and I worked in a dish room. Years later, I saw him at a Safeway. And I said, Bio, it's me, preach. And I was waiting for him. He goes, he said, preacher, we need dinner plates. And I started laughing. He started laughing because he said, that's the only thing. He said, his English had gotten better. And his job prospects had gotten better. Really along the line of he felt better about him in situations that he went into. Not that he had come up on a job that was paying him 3, 4, 5 times what he was making a big boy. But it was the assurance, if you will. It was the calm in his heart that despite everything that was going on, this thing remains unchanged. This was the engine that would allow him to go get the better job, that would allow him to have a wife and a family, that would allow him to get a house and things like that. And it was a very, very intuitive tool that he had now reframed to engage with the world. Thus, when we talk about reclaiming our happy rights, We are saying that we are going to reframe in many regards how we engage with the world, how we engage with other people, how we engage with how we make money, how we engage religiously. And it is such an important process because the alignment of happiness and joy is a very sacred alignment that I began to understand as many of you. When you look in history, you'll find that the people who were the most downtrodden, the people who were the most abused, the people who were the most oppressed, but in some regards, given an opportunity, they were the happiest. They were the most balanced. They were the most logical. They were the most intellectual. I've said this before on this show. And if I'm being redundant, then it is what it is. Some of the most smartest intellectual people came out of the slave period. There's no per se growth period for African Americans that parallels anywhere else than those that came out of the slave period. In 100 years, they created income. In 100 years, they created industry. They created intellectualism. They created spirituality. They created a legal brain set that would be able to go out and argue all these other things. And what that bought, brothers and sisters, these very, very important milestones, what it bought was a place for us to have happiness. See, people talk about segregation, and we go, oh, the white people didn't want to be around the black people. Let me tell y'all this. A lot of good things happened during segregation. A lot of people didn't want to be around white folks because they didn't see what the value was. This is the intellectual capacity that I'm talking about. They didn't see what the value was. They didn't see themselves as happy in this space. And so the advent for black dentists and black insurance companies and black furniture makers and black theaters and black art, it reinforced the nature of wanting to have a peaceful existence. And if you didn't want to go over here, I'm going to tell y'all some segregation is a tool of the unhappy. It remains a tool of the unhappy. You know this. I'm going to say it just to reiterate it. But if I'm happy and you're happy, why do we go to people who are not happy, who are patently miserable, who in their own space don't even understand their happy rights unless it means that you don't have any? That's the revisiting of these sub-zero, if you will, relationships, zero-sum relationships. I'm sorry that we revisit these zero-sum relationships. I'm like, man, I have gotten to a point, and many of you have gotten to a point. I don't chase people who are not happy. Hell, I don't chase happy people. Happy people are in this space. You can sit back and you appreciate them from a mile away, 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away. But the thing that can't be overlooked is indeed when you look around and you watch the news, these are miserable people in the headlines. These are miserable people that create misery for other miserable people. And sometimes it sounds cold-blooded, but you have to be protective of your own happy rights. You have to step back. You can't be in the fray. You can't afford not to be happy or be in possession of your happy rights or be in possession of your joy or have anything somehow anyway disalign or misalign what you've been and what you own. What's deserving of yourself? What do you need? Because you work for these things. We talked about the show yesterday. Can you remember the wisdom of your parents and what they talked about were mantras, ideas, philosophy that were genius because it operated under parallel that you knew the world wasn't a perfect place. We knew, brothers and sisters, that these are not happy people. Our forefathers that came off the slave ships were clear that the people who had enslaved them were spiritually damaged. The idea of the African American, in a lot of people's eyes, is that for everything that has been gone through, and I'm saying African Americans because Native Americans have been decimated. And I'm going to say this too. I said this to a Muslim brother. You ain't no real Muslim unless you're advocating for Native American rights. I'm sorry. Those people have been oppressed for a very, very long time. But the issue is, and continues to be, let me add that. The issue is, and continues to be, that we're always in a battle. That somehow, some way, we're made to feel that we should be separated from happiness. That we're not deserving of happiness. That every law that's come down, Jim Crow or segregation, even the recent Supreme Court rulings tell folks, I am going to be in possession legally of whether you're going to be happy or not in this particular situation. We'll be right back on the Shout Out Show. Stick around. We're talking about reclaiming your happy rights. I'm Preacher Moss. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just gotta hear "Don't Get the COVID."
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
All right, and we're back. So let me add on to something. I'm gonna pivot, if you will. You know, this whole thing about reclaiming joy, just the idea that you have to reclaim something means that somebody's taking it from you. Well, two sides. Somebody's taking it from you, or on the other aspect, you've given it away. Claiming is a statement, brothers and sisters. It's not a holding or a possession of something. It is a statement. You can claim something, but it's not possession. You are making a statement about what something is evaluated as, why it's important, and in many regards, it's like, what is the significance of this action? Indeed, it's declarative. And I would implore everybody, understand that happiness or asserting happiness in situations regarding your life or that of your family or your community is a declarative statement. That this is either where we are or where we are aspiring to be. Where we are or where we are aspiring to be. The genius nature of the civil rights movement is not yelling and going, we shall overcome. It's not the aspect of marching and protesting. It is the juxtaposition in a media framework that told people, these are the people who are not happy. We are the people not only happy, we are engaged, we are intellectual. This is what happens. This is what it looks like when you're not those things. When you're miserable and you're dysfunctional and you're evil and you're conniving and you're didactic and talking to people about freedom only because you're not talking to them about freedom. You're talking to them about denying their freedom. This, brothers, is a genius. all of our religious dogma and personifications and personas, all the prophets had one thing that happened. They had one thing that was encouraged. That they were not sad prophets. They may be challenged, they may deal with difficulties, but they weren't sad. They weren't sad people. They were people who drew folks to them based on the fact that there was a happiness quotient. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, Jesus, Musa, they all had their problems and situations, ups and downs. But when people talk about these prophets, it is the love that they were able to have and demonstrate. Not just for the people that saw them with their own eyes, but through thousands of years and revelations through Quran and the Bible and all these things that you can see a willingness to declare happiness, not just for themselves, but demanded for the people who follow. If you ever get a chance, it's two movies you should watch. One is 12 Years a Slave, which is a freaking miserable movie. But the thing that drives the movie and makes it compelling is that even in the worst of oppression, there are people who said, I still have a right to happiness. I still have a right to joy. It may be couched in freedom, of course. That's part of it. But even for those who are not a blessed or afforded freedom, they still found in little pockets ways to be effective in having happiness. We don't see that a lot because, slavery is this thing, and what we get is one-dimensional representations of slave people who are not particularly smart, not particularly creative, not particularly God-affiliated, which is foolish. That's a lie. They were the highest of believers, the highest of faith keepers. They were the highest of artists and artisans and skilled folks. And they built civilizations within a bad civilization. They built culture and society within a culture that had rejected them. This is the genius. When you look at Native American drawings, they are of the freest that you're going to see in terms of art. The freest. And even that freedom, brothers and sisters, though they may encourage hardships and things like that, even the freest of that those drawings and sketches scares America today. Scares America to death. So this is what I'm saying as we get to the wrap up about reclaiming your happy rights. Just some thoughts, and I'm gonna let you go. Number one, you're already in ownership of happy rights, but you have to claim them. And you're going to have to reclaim them. Not that you give them to somebody, and you have to take them back, but you have to be declarative, and you have to let people know, this is my space that I work on for my happiness and my joy. You won't have to claim it once. You'll have to reclaim it. You have to tell this person and this situation and this government and this oppressor. Even the people you love have to be reminded that you are entitled and in possession of happy rights. That's number one. Number two, if you inform people that they have happy rights and that they should be pursued and engaged, it makes the situation so much better. And it creates a pro-intellectual environment that's we've been starving for years. That people think, and then they think from the heart. That they think from here, and then they think from the heart. This is the beauty, brothers and sisters, of happy rights. That's all I got to say today. Want you guys to stay blessed. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Until that time, claim and reclaim your happy rights. It's your brother, Preacher Moss. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.